From the creepy swamps deep in the heart of Cajun country, I welcome you to Fave Five From Fans, the podcast where I, Jamie Ray, your humble host, invite a friend of mine, or in this case, once again, my daughter Lilli, to create a list of 5 of their favorite things that we have a shared interest in, be it movies, books, TVs, toy, or whatever. Our own Venn diagram of topics near and dear to our hearts. We then sit across from each other to compare and contrast, dissect and disseminate our choices for you, the listening audience. We'll start off with honorable mentions, those selections that didn't quite make the Fave 5 for good reasons or bad. And then we'll take turns unveiling our choices backwards from 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. You'll hear us discussing everything from alien invasions to zombie attacks, Rom the Space Knight to Community, Edgar Allan Poe to Stephen King, both literature and film adaptations. All that's left is for you to decide who's right, who's wrong, and will we still be friends or family after all this. I can't wait to get started, so please sit back, strap in, and get ready for this episode of Fave Five From Fans. Greetings from Glendale Community College.
That's nice.
Thank you. So excited to be bringing you another episode from deep, deep in the COVID kerflunkel. Today's topic, if you haven't already guessed, is NBC and Yahoo's television series Community.
Give me some love, time and a dream. Give me the hope to run out of steam. Somebody say it could be here, it could be rolled up, tied up, dead in a year. I can't count the reasons I should stay. One by one, they all just fade away.
And to discuss it, I have invited a community expert in the field to the Plastic Microphone Studios. Welcome once again, Lilli Dot Ray.
Hey, what's poppin'?
Pop, pop, pop. That's a good one. You're getting started early.
Yeah.
So, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Yeah, you ready for this?
Yeah.
Cool. I'm ready for it. So, before we get started, I thought we would talk a little bit about what the show was. Mm-hmm. Would you like to take that part?
Sure.
Go right ahead.
So, the very basic is a group of people going to community college. But the more explained version is just some very crazy people doing some very crazy things.
Quirky.
Some quirky people doing some quirky things in community college. And the characters are just chef's kiss. They're amazing.
So we've got a cast that starts off with the main, I guess you would say the main character is a guy named Jeff Winger. And Jeff is a lawyer who has been disgraced because his college degree has been found to be lacking. And so Jeff has to go back to school.
Yeah.
And instead of going to a big college, he goes to the local Glendale Community College. Jeff Winger is, of course, played by Joel McHale.
Wait.
Yep.
It's Greendale.
What'd I say? Glendale?
Glendale. You said Glendale.
And there, Jeff meets what becomes his Spanish study group, made up of Britta Perry, played by Jillian Jacobs, Annie Edison, played by Allison Brie, who, side note, I hear her name is being bantied around as being She-Hulk in the new Marvel Universe. Yeah.
That's exciting.
That would be cool. Also, we have Shirley Bennett, portrayed by
Yvette Nicole Brown.
Hey, let's do this. Let's play.
Okay.
Troy Barnes, played by
Childish Gambino, a.k.a. Donald Glover.
Abed Nadir.
Danny Pudi.
Mm-hmm. Pierce Hawthorne.
Chevy Chase.
And Dean Craig Pelton.
Oh, wait, let me think. Is his name like Greg or something?
Jim Rash. Ooh, thanks
Not
for
close.
playing. And the Spanish teacher, Ben Chang, is played by
Ken John.
Yeah. Now, later on in the series, we get to meet Elroy Potashnik, played by Keith David,
Okay.
and Frankie Dart, played by Paget Brewster.
Yeah.
And that's about the time when it started to go to Yahoo. But
Yeah.
we'll talk about that a little bit later. So this is your core group of people, and there is a large group of second-tier characters, and
Yes.
even third-tier characters, like Long-Haired Guy, who I saw the other day played
Who?
in more than... Long-Haired Guy.
Okay.
He's a guy in the background of like 53 different episodes.
Really?
No lines, no nothing. He's just the long-haired guy in the back. So, I don't know. Anyway. So, this show is really great. Has a ton of references to movies and TV and pop culture.
Yeah.
And I know that when we watched it together, because we've watched the whole series with your mom, we stopped and would point out, okay, this is what this is pointing at.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the show canceled by NBC, and then Yahoo decided to pick it up and continue making episodes online. Some might say they should have stopped at 4. I liked some. It just didn't have the same feeling.
Yeah.
So anyway, is there anything you would like to talk about that maybe you specifically remember that you want to get into before we get into our lists?
I wanted to just point out that I just realized this. I don't have any episodes from season 5 and season 6.
Oh, wow.
So I think season 4, like past that point, it wasn't as good. I think that the first 4 seasons were just really, it was really good.
Well, I think a lot of people would probably agree with you that those first, right before Shirley and Troy left the show, they were strongest at that point.
Yeah.
But before we get into it all, I know that you and I talk about this. So I have a Fave 5 list I'd like to give you before we even get started.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it is my Fave 5 Dean Pelton costumes.
Oh my God.
With one honorable mention. So my honorable mention would have to be the Dean dressed as Lady Gaga for Halloween in Epidemiology.
Poker face.
And then the Dean dressed as the Devil in Shirley's horror fiction in 7 Spooky Steps.
Gay marriage.
Then, when the Dean informs the study group that daylight savings times means that they need to, Tina, turn back their clocks.
Oh my God.
In Paradigm of Human Memory. Then, probably what I think maybe was one of your favorites is when the Dean outdoes himself dressed as Dualidine, referencing the duality of man and the dual news, both good and bad, about their upcoming biology class.
Okay. I thought that was your favorite.
Nope.
Okay.
And then my number 2 would be Dean Pelton dressed as Donna Reed in grayscale, black and white.
Yes.
Yeah, in order to announce to the study group that the Sadie Hawkins dance he's throwing.
Yes.
Which is in Herstory of Dance. And then my number 1 favorite can't use the T word. My favorite number 1 Dean Pelton costume has got to be when he wears every outfit from the season, or up to that point, in Emotional Consequences of Broadcast Television. That's right, he wears them all at the same time on top of each other.
Yeah.
That was a good
6?
one. Yep.
Yeah, that was great.
And then he didn't really dress up that much in season 6
I
either.
think the whole point of wearing all the costumes is because he didn't wear any costumes that semester, aka that season.
Yeah, right. So he couldn't stop himself anymore.
Yeah. He just had to wear all of them at once.
Okay, well, I think if we're ready, how many honorable mentions do you have?
I actually have 2 honorable mentions.
Okay, that's good. I'm ready for it. All right, so why don't you give me your honorable mentions number 2 and number 1?
So, my first honorable mention is Season 3, Episode 17, Basic Lupine Urology.
Okay.
Greendale Community College is represented by 2 separate yet equally important types of people. The goofballs that run around stirring up trouble, and the eggheads that make a big deal out of it. These are their stories.
Okay, this is the Law and Order themed episode. You know, it's kind of like a mystery thing.
Dun dun.
Yeah, in this episode, the study group's biology project, Pam the Yam, is knocked off the counter and stepped on. Mm-hmm. And the study group has to go on an investigation to find out who killed their yam. Right. There's the court scene is really just lots of twists and turns, you know. In the end, the group nemesis, Todd, is convicted. And just as he's about to be found guilty, there is a twist.
And a cool costume. Dean Pelton's dressed as Lady Justice. Anyway, go ahead.
That wasn't the same one.
It wasn't?
No, the Lady Justice was when Pierce and Shirley were fighting over Shirley's sandwich.
See, that's why you're the guest.
That's what I'm saying. It turns out that Fat Neil had actually boiled everyone's yams except for Vicky because he wanted to like hang out with her over the summer. Oh. But also one weird thing, Todd was guilty of killing their yam, of like smashing it, but like they never addressed that. They're just like, oh yeah, he's guilty, but you boiled our yams.
You boiled them.
And one of my favorite, if not the favorite part of it, is the intro. It's the same song, but it sounds like the Law and Order theme song. And it's like, do you know how in Law and Order they kind of fade into dots? You know?
Yep.
It's the same thing with them. It's beautiful.
Oh yeah, they only do that on a few episodes. Most of the time, it's just the da 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 da.
The fortune teller.
Yeah. But I remember that. That was a good one.
It was really good.
Yeah. All right, and how about your honorable mention 1?
Okay. My next honorable mention is the only one from season 1, Contemporary American Poultry.
I remember that one. Yeah. That's a good one.
I absolutely love this episode. I'm pretty sure, I think what you told me was that it's inspired by Goodfellas.
Right. A great organized crime movie if there ever was one. Shout out to Cody.
It was an awesome episode, and the only reason it's not higher on my list is because I haven't seen Goodfellas, and so I don't get the references.
And you won't for about another 6 years.
Okay, great. But the plot is great, you know? Abed becomes the fried chicken chef and starts up kind of like a little trade network with the entire school to hand out the chicken, but the group becomes like corrupt with this power that they have over the school. And then Jeff starts to lose his control because now Abed's the big honcho man that gives them all this stuff from his fried chicken. And then eventually Abed gives up the job and they all go back to normal. But it's a really good episode.
It is. And it very well mirrors Goodfellas.
Okay.
In a good way. So when you do see that movie, you'll go like, oh yeah, get it?
Okay.
It was a great representation of that film.
And just like that, the Mafia movie was over. I quit the fry cook job, somewhat for the sake of the family, but mostly for the sake of Jeff's ego. Poor guy. Things went back to normal. Now everyone's back to being a bunch of regular schnooks, and I'm back to being a weirdo. Back to watching from the outside. For now.
Well, good. Those are both very honorable.
Yes.
Honorable mentions. So, I know before we're going in, we're going to have some crossover.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and throw them out, and if we cross over, you can either tell me, or you can keep it to yourself until we get to yours.
I think I'm just going to keep it to myself.
Okay. All right. So my honorable mention number 2 is going to be from season 2, episode 16, Intermediate Documentary Filmmaking.
I know what you're talking about.
This is one of the episodes that's directed by Joe Russo. It's written by Megan Gans and Dan Harmon, and Dan Harmon's name will show up several times, as well as Joe Russo. And, of course, Joe Russo is part of the Avengers Russo brothers. So, yeah. So, anyway, upset that he's not getting the respect he deserves, Pierce claims that he's about to die and summons the study group to the hospital to bequeath personalized gifts unto them, while Abed documents the entire event.
Yeah.
So, basically, Pierce wakes up overdosed on pills, and he comes to the hospital. So there really was a genesis to him being in the hospital. So he brings all the study group in, and one by one wants to give them each a gift. But in true Pierce form, nothing is as it seems, and each gift has an ulterior, deeper meaning.
Except for Annie.
But Annie's does too. So I'm going to get that. So first off, Pierce calls in Shirley and gives her a CD that he says is a recording of the others talking behind her back. Though, in fact, it's a recording of Pierce trying to get the group to talk behind their back until they find out that he's wearing a mic, and then it gets turned off. But she doesn't know that till later in the episode.
Yeah.
Then Britta is given a $10,000 check with no recipient listed, suggesting that she give it to charity of her choice or to fill out her own name, knowing that she's going to be really troubled. So she, in fact, ends up giving it to the Red Cross, but telling Abed, or telling the camera, that she feels bad because she's a horrible person, because if the camera hadn't been on it, she'd have probably kept it. Annie is called next, but Jeff goes instead. And Pierce claims to give him the gift that he has tracked down Jeff's father and has invited him to meet him there. Ooh. Of course, Jeff doesn't believe it for a minute. And while they're waiting, Mr. LeVar Burton pokes his head in, asking for Troy Barnes.
Excuse me. I'm looking for Troy Barnes. Pierce Hawthorne sent me. Hey, Troy. Hi. I'm LeVar Burton.
So, of course, Troy freaks out.
I told Pierce 1,000 times I never wanted to meet LeVar in person. I just wanted a picture. You can't disappoint a picture. I hate you, Pierce.
So, of course, anybody out there watching the show probably knows LeVar Burton is Geordi LaForge from Star Trek: The Next Generation and from Reading Rainbow.
Reading Rainbows.
Annie then goes in to be given, like you said earlier, a gift, the tiara, which he claims has been in his family for 6 generations. And the only reason he gives it to her is because she is his favorite. Aww, if only that were true. Split back to see Troy sitting across from LeVar Burton, paralyzed with fear. LeVar is trying to engage him in conversation, can't. Then again, another split to see him singing the Reading Rainbow show while crying in a bathroom.
Butterfly in the sky, I can go twice as high. Take a look, it's in a book. Reading Rainbow. Reading Rainbow. Oh, set phasers to love me.
So Britta talks to LeVar about that show Rebop that he was in, whatever that was. And he says that basically since he can't get Troy to come out to him, he should probably just catch his flight. Which prompts Britta to offer him all the money she has, $261, if he'll reschedule and try again to talk to it. At which LeVar tells her,
You know, you are a very generous friend, but you're really stupid with your money.
So then Jeff gets a call from someone claiming to be his father. Going outside, he sees the car pull up, and he's making that split decision, am I going to go see my father? And then he realizes who it is, and he goes down there and drags Pierce out of the car, and then proceeds to beat him again.
Yes.
At which point, Pierce confesses, saying that he was just tired of being a joke to everybody and them not remembering his birthday and stuff. So they kind of make up, and everyone realizes they're probably a little bit better people than they thought there were. And then Annie, of course, still can't figure out were they blood diamonds in the tiara or what. And he was like, no, really, I just think she's my favorite. And then one thing I want to do is talk about the end tag, or the closing of it, because I know those are your favorites.
Yes.
And of course, this one has LeVar having dinner with Troy in the study room, and he's trying to, again, engage him, at which point Troy screams, gets up, and runs out of the study room.
Classic Troy.
Crying. Honorable mention number 1 is also from season 2, episode 14, again directed by Joe Russo, written by Andrew Guest, and it is called Advanced Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, it's so good.
So good. So I'm not going to go too much into this one. I'm going to take a guess that you might have it on your list. If not, I'll come back. The study group decides to play Dungeons and Dragons to lift Fat Neil's spirits, but Pierce's jealousy causes their good intentions to backfire.
Yeah.
And so basically, the Fat Neil, one of the minor characters that we've talked about, Jeff thinks he's going to commit suicide. So he knows he's a big Dungeons and Dragons player. He gets the group together to play Dungeons and Dragons, and through a series of incredibly lucky rolls and major feats of deceit, Pierce is able to come in and totally wreck the game.
Yeah.
And in the end, Fat Neil realizes all what they were doing and kind of appreciates it, but Pierce still ends up being the jerk. And the end tag being that Troy and Abed show up in the study room, bebopping on in, arguing about whether it's better to have big ears or a tail, but suddenly they look up realizing they're early because another study group is there, made up entirely of older Asian women who are just stop and stare at him. And then they join in on the discussion. So, a couple of great honorable mentions. So, I think if you're ready, let's hear your fave number 5.
Okay. So, my number 5 is Season 4, Episode 2, Paranormal Parentage.
Ah, that's a good one.
Yeah, this Halloween episode is just mwah. Mwah.
Ah!
Pierce is accidentally locked in his panic room, and the rest of the group has to search for the password in his gigantic mansion. But during their search, they find that Pierce's mansion might be haunted by Pierce's late father. Ooh. But during their search, they find out it was an elaborate prank pulled on the group. Also, Pierce's half-brother, Gilbert, has been living with Pierce for, like, a week or something. But it's a great episode with, like, really good costumes.
Yeah. Now, this
Some
isn't
nice
the episode where they play the 8-bit video game, right?
No.
No. Okay. Yeah, I remember this one, though. This is the one where they go in and Troy's upset because Pierce has a really cool indoor swing, and Shirley's just like, no. Yeah, that was a good one.
Quick question, because I haven't seen it, but I know in one of the scenes, Pierce, like, kind of, as one of his pranks, there's, like, a latex wall, and he kind of, like, lunges out at one of them.
Right.
While another is looking. Is that a Friday the 13th? I mean,
No.
Nightmare on Elm Street
That is
reference?
a Nightmare on Elm Street reference. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because Freddy does that through the wall of a bedroom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also a throwback, or maybe not intentionally, just cursory, to The Frighteners with Michael J. Fox, which is a movie that we're going to put on your list to watch because it's really good.
Yeah.
It's also done by Robert Zemeckis, who did the Back to the Future movies and stuff with Michael J. Fox. But yeah, that's exactly what that was Nightmare on Elm Street.
Because it kind of looked a little familiar, but I couldn't figure it out. And I know I hadn't, like, watched, because I haven't seen Nightmare on Elm Street yet. And, but I was like, that kind of looks...
Did you see the kill count for...
Yes.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to the Kill Count YouTube account, or whatever you call those guys. They make some incredible videos to tell you how everyone in a horror movie gets killed. And I know that you're a big fan of them.
Yeah.
So if you're listening, we thank you for your work. That's a good one. Yeah, I don't have that one on my list. But what I do have for my number 5, to make up for no season 5 or 6 episodes from you, is actually a season 6 episode.
Oh, okay.
I know. It's season 6, episode 12, Wedding Videography.
Oh, yeah.
So this one is it's no longer the study group. It's the, what is it?
Is it like the Make Greendale Great Again?
Yes, Make Greendale, something like that. And so the committee attends Garrett's wedding while Abed films the entire event, like as a documentary. So another of the people, kind of the minor characters, is Garrett. Who, Garrett, oh my gosh, what's going on here? So Garrett proposes to his girlfriend, Stacy, in a very cool presentation in Jeff's law class, because at this point Jeff has become a teacher at Greendale. I'm going to do that the entire episode. But as Abed is filming it, he watches Jeff's reaction, and there's a lot of melancholy. You know, something's not quite right to him. So flash forward to the day of the wedding. Again, Abed is making this documentary, and Britta and Annie talk about, it's called the Save Greendale Committee. That was it.
Greendale.
They've invited everybody to come over and get ready, but what they didn't tell them was that they had them show up 2 hours early because they knew everybody would be late, which was a great little thing.
Yeah.
So there's a cool bunch of things going back and forth in here, a lot of laughs. But my favorite part is when you jump to the end, and so the committee gets there and they decide that they're going to make a good impression because everybody kind of thinks sometimes maybe they're jokes.
Yeah.
So they go and meet everybody and they get together. And so when it comes time to give speeches, Jeff gets up there to give a speech, and he talks about the maid of honor, and he talks about this part, and then he talks about Meemaw.
Oh no.
You remember this?
Yes.
Meemaw, who's Stacy's Meemaw, or grandmother, I guess, and Garrett's Aunt Polly to come up. And that's when you realize they are the same person. Ooh. Now, they talk about them being cousins at this point, but if Meemaw means grandma, then they are in fact second cousins, which makes it a percentage less creepy. And they're going to break up. But Chang, of all people, gets up and makes an impassioned speech to them.
No, this family is so screwed up, you thought you were 2 different families. Now that you know you're not, you can't wait to leave, and you want this guy to do what? Forget he's in love? For you? You want him to take one for this crappy team? Garrett, who loves you here more than Stacy?
Nobody.
Stacy, is it your fault Garrett's your cousin?
No.
Is anyone here going to make less fun of these two or be better friends to them no matter what they do?
No.
It's you against the world, and you will not win. But you get to make your moves, not them.
Stacy, will you be my legally incestuous wife?
Yes.
Everyone stay and eat cake or go to hell!
Committee gets a big hug, and the end of the episode. Yeah. I just thought, I know it was season 6 and there's a lot missing from the group, but I thought this episode was a really cool way for them to show that they could still shine as a group, even without Shirley and without, Troy. And the funniest thing about this episode, aside from the mic drop that Garrett does, is the end tag, which is actually the writer of the episode, Briggs Hatton. He directly addresses the viewers, and he's in a Yahoo office, you can tell. And he goes through and he talks about the fact that, cousins, first cousins having children don't really come out with birth defects or anything like this. And he frequently is frustrated by addressing the outdated laws.
I'm Briggs Hatton. I wrote the Community Season 6 Incest episode. Good night.
And it's just a really funny tongue-in-cheek, this is who I am, and if you don't like me, don't worry about it. So I enjoyed that one. You remember that one?
Yeah.
That's kind of weird when it came out. But you knew that Meemaw and the great aunt were going to be the same.
Because they kept bringing up, like, oh, that's Meemaw. Wait, no, that's Aunt Polly.
Yeah. It was a good one. Okay, so let's now get down to your number 4.
Well, my number 4 is one. It's just a great episode, a very memorable episode. It is season 3, episode 14, Pillows and Blankets.
I knew this was going to be on your list.
Yes. This episode is not only exhibits wonderful war strategy, but the lows of the best friendships and sophisticated pillow and blanket fort building.
Mm-hmm.
So basically what happens is Troy and Abed, like they do, start building a fort on Greendale campus, right?
Glendale.
And the dean's like, he comes up to them, and they were like, oh, are you okay with this? And he's like, oh yeah, it's fine. But what I was going to say is you could break the world record for the biggest blanket fort. Because at that point they were making a pillow fort.
Okay.
Right?
I'm going to defer to you.
And so they're like, okay. And Troy turns to Abed, and he's like, well, if we make a blanket fort, we can make it faster so we can get the world record. And Abed's like, well, I don't want to sacrifice my creative whatever for a world record. And they kind of just split up. And so on one side of the campus, you have Troy's blanket fort. And on the other side, you have Abed's pillow fort. Mm-hmm. And they meet in the study room, and then chaos breaks out. Mm-hmm. There is a war. And Pillows and Blankets is just, it's a great episode. It's basically the two at war, the two kind of, at each other's neck, and you see the lows of this amazing, ideal friendship. Mm-hmm. And the war ends, but they're still fighting, because they're like, this is the last time we're going to spend time together, because I don't want to be your friend after this.
Right.
The war has no more reason to continue, and yet it does. Between the two that began it.
They just kept fighting. Like, for hours.
Come on, guys, let's wrap this up.
I don't want to.
Me neither.
Why not?
This is going to be the last thing we ever do together.
You can't stop.
And eventually, Jeff, of all people, Jeff, he gets their friendship back together. Mm-hmm. And, they become friends again. It's just... Troy and Abed are an amazing duo.
They are. They really are.
And it's just a good way to show that even the best friendships can have hard times. And pillow blanket forts are an amazing way to show it. Like their pillow and blanket forts are their specialties, like something they're known for.
Yeah.
And it's a very fun episode.
It is. And so it definitely pulls a lot of parallels on purpose to a series done by a guy named Ken Burns. Okay. And it was all about the Civil War.
Yeah,
obviously.
Well, I don't know that because I haven't seen
Right.
that.
So the neat thing about this episode, and I think I pointed it out to you once he came on, I think in season 5, is Keith David actually does the narration. He's the voice of the narration throughout the episode, and then later on, he joins the cast. So, of course, I always loved him from They Live, which was just a fantastic movie. It has like a 15-minute fight scene in it with Rowdy Roddy Piper.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a great one. We're going to watch that movie one day.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's a great one. And it was a very cool pillow / blanket fort, too, if I must say.
It was exquisite.
They were. So my number 4 is this another season 1 episode that may or may not be on your list. Mm-hmm. Episode 23, Modern Warfare. This is the first of a few paintball episodes.
I don't have that on my list, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. This was actually directed by Justin Lin, who would go on to do, I believe, some of the Fast and the Furious movies, and written by Emily Cutler. So it's the end of season 1, and Jeff and Britta have been bouncing around a lot with this flirtatious arguing. Yeah. There's a lot of sexual tension in the room. Will they,
won't they? They probably won't, but they might.
Kind of throws back to a TV show called Moonlighting, which had our buddy from Die Hard in it.
Willis?
Yeah, with a lady named Sybil Shepherd. And it had a lot. Anyway. So as they're kind of flirting / arguing, Abed explains to them that their sexual tension is putting everyone on edge. affecting the whole group and is just not a good thing. So Pierce suggests that they just sleep together and get on with it. At which point the dean shows up with a big announcement. He says that they're having a paintball assassin competition, which will be starting soon, and then they will announce the prize once it starts. Jeff doesn't want anything to do with this. Annie keeps trying to steer the conversation back to him, so he gets up and says, I'm going to go take a nap in his Lexus. At which point he wakes up an hour later to find the campus quad is completely trashed and seemingly deserted.
It looks like the apocalypse.
Yes.
But if it was paintball.
Right. So it's straight out of 28 Days Later when the character, Cillian Murphy's character, wakes up in a hospital and there's no one anywhere in London that he can find, I'm told. So that's just one of the first homages. This one has a lot of it. Has all the spaghetti westerns from like Fistful of Dollar and A Few Dollars More. And
Die Hard.
Die Hard comes in at the end. So one by one, Jeff comes up meeting his fellow Greendale. Is that right? That's it, right? Yes. Greendale. So first he comes up with Garrett, who's been shot, who then explains to him what's happened. That the prize was announced and that everyone just went crazy. But before he can explain any further, he then gets shot by Leonard. Jeff trying to run away, only to be saved by Abed from a classic Terminator viewpoint. Come with me if you don't want to paint on your clothes. They go back to a classroom and meet up with Troy, who then, as making their way to the student lounge, they run into Pierce and Starburns looting the vending machines. And of course, in classic Pierce style, as soon as he realizes they're together, he shoots Starburns and joins their team. They go to then use the bathroom, at which Abed realizes they stumbled into a trap, where Britta, Shirley, and Annie emerge from hiding in different places, like in the bath, the trash can and stuff. So they have a standoff, but it's quickly broken when Jeff and Britta start arguing again. Yeah. So Troy attempts to get... Okay, so anyway, so they're going to form an alliance, and they go to leave. And Troy and Shirley are in the back, and Troy's trying to get him to form like a secret alliance. Mm-hmm. But before he can do that, pew, he's shot. It's the Glee Club.
Hit me with your best shot.
At which point Annie stands up basically saying, oh, come up with something original. And when she gets shot, and then Jeff calls out to Pierce in classic reverse psychology, do not come over here, which causes Pierce to come out and get shot. At which point they then figure out where the Glee Club is and they take them off. But hunkering down afterwards, they find out that the reason Shirley is doing this is because she wants what the prize is, which is priority
registration.
Exactly. And so Britta decides that no matter what, when you win, I'm giving you the prize. The whole group wants to, except, of course, Jeff.
Yeah.
At that point, a group of roller skaters come in, channeling a group from a movie called The Warriors.
Okay.
Yeah, come out to play. At which point, Shirley and Abed are both taken out.
Ooh.
Yeah. So with only Jeff and Britta left, they end up back in the study room with Jeff bleeding. I remember he's like, oh my God, I'm so glad. I thought it was paint. So after they kind of fix him up, of course, they finally have sex.
Yeah.
And they come back up later, at which point Britta has taken a gun and she's going to shoot a paintball at Jeff.
Yeah.
Only to find out that Jeff has taken her clip out. So, in the meantime, the Dean and Chang have realized how bad it's really gotten and that they want to basically make it so that no one can win, so he doesn't have to give out priority because it's not really a thing. So he gives Chang a super machine gun paintball.
No, that's
device.
actually Chang's.
Oh, that's
right?
Chang's. Oh, okay.
He's like a paintball champion or something.
Right, okay. Thanks. See, I'm missing. So, as Britta and Jeff are having their standoff, Chang breaks in. Throwback to another style of movies, from a director named John Woo, where he sits up there and just goes crazy. Takes out Britta, who takes out Chang. So Jeff is the last one standing. As he goes to say something to Chang, Chang has a paint bomb. A big green paint bomb. But Jeff is able to get away.
Yeah.
He shows up in the dean's office, and the dean tries to buy him off with a nice DVD player. Not a Blu-ray, but it does have a remote. And Jeff then, with a pistol strapped to his back, a la Die Hard, yippee-ki-yay, and shoots him straight in the head. Jump to the next day. Everybody's back to normal. The janitors have been working all night because they're cleaning. And when they go to the study room, Troy instantly says, wait a minute, something's different. Or was it Troy? Was it Abed?
It was probably
I think it was Abed. So it's basically he's like felt a disturbance in the force, but he can't figure out what's wrong. Jeff announces that he's won the priority registration, but he gives it to Shirley so that she can, it was so sweet, so she can go and be with her boys more often. And so for this end tag, you've got Troy trying to record the perfect message on his phone to send to Abed. Mm-hmm. Jeff kind of gets annoyed, grabs the phone from him, and leaves what he thinks is an angry message. And then he goes back and re-records it. And on, and so on, and so on, and so on. So anyway, that was, I really enjoyed. And that was just one of a few paintball episodes that would show up later on. Yeah. So anyway. All right.
I feel so bad for those janitors.
I know, man. They had to work hard.
Probably just showed up thinking someone might have peed on the floor, and then they just show up, and it's like...
Paintball. Oh, just the study room. And even the study room is back to 100%, you know?
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Because of Chang's person Gatorade bottle bomb.
Yes, indeed. All right. Now we are down to your number 3 favorite community episode. Lay it on me, girl.
My number 3... Well... My number 3 is from season 2, and it is the beautiful piece called Cooperative Calligraphy.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, so this strange bottle episode is just amazing. I'm just going to say that. It's amazing.
That was on my short list, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
In this episode... Just prepare yourselves, because it's going to get a little weird. Annie loses her purple pen and throws a literal tantrum, screaming and kicking and, throwing her arms.
That's what we call a hissy fit.
She's throwing a hissy fit over a pen. And she's like, we're going to find this pen. And they look everywhere. They look through people's bags. They... cut open Pierce's cast because he has 2 broken legs, and they cut open both of his casts.
And there's some stuff in the cast, but not her pen.
Yeah, there's a Slim Jim in there. I don't know how that happened.
She proceeds to eat, right?
Yeah. They strip. They, not figuratively, they literally tear the room apart, ripping up the carpet, opening all the drawers, throwing everything out.
Don't they think it's a ghost at some point?
Yeah. Troy's like, what if it's a ghost? And they're like, no, Troy, it's not a ghost. And it in the end, they're all like, I don't have it, you don't have it, no one has it. I don't want to think that one of y'all took it. And then Jeff goes, what if it's a ghost? And Troy's like, that's what I've been saying. And they're just like, and then they just inevitably save their friendship. They walk out the room like nothing happened. And in the end, we find out that Troy's escaped monkey, named Annie's Boobs, took the pen at the very beginning of the episode. And here's a little fun fact. In the beginning of the episode, right after the dean comes in, because, there's a puppy parade.
Dalmatians. What is it with the dean and Dalmatians? Sorry, go ahead.
At the beginning of the episode, if you look at the corner of their table, you'll see the purple pen, right? But then you can see a little monkey hand go over.
So you're telling me you can see Annie's boobs?
Yeah, you can see the monkey take the pen, and it just runs away. It's just if you look for it, it's like
right there.
Mind blowing.
Yeah, I remember because we didn't know that, and you found this later on and came back and showed it to me, and I was amazed.
Also, unrelated, side note, I have a personal conspiracy theory about this.
Lay it on me, sister.
Because in the episode, I think it's called History 101, Abed goes inside his own head and makes his own little TV show, right? Because that's his happy place, because he needs to find his happy place or whatever. And he makes like a little, like a little opening theme song kind of thing, based off of the theme song for the regular show, but he's singing it with different lyrics. And when it's Annie Edison's turn, she opens up her bag and she's like, "Where is it?" And then Annie's boobs comes up with a pen and she's like, "Oh, silly monkey." But if this is in Abed's head, then he would have known that the monkey took the pen all along and didn't say anything.
Or it was he knew it, but didn't realize that he knew it. It's one of those things like sometimes through regressive hypnotherapy, you can realize that you saw something even if you don't remember seeing it.
I'd like to imagine that he knew it all along and was just like, let's see how this plays out.
He's so mean.
He's a little trickster.
He is a trickster.
Yeah, but I really like this episode.
That's a great episode.
Yeah.
Though. Yeah. I love that one. And it harkens back later on in so many other episodes. Because don't they end up finally finding, and like there's a whole trove of things that Annie's boobs has been stealing.
She has there's like 8 purple pens.
Yeah.
She's like, these are where my pens went.
That's a good one. Well, my number 3 is also from season 10.
Season 10?
I'm sorry.
Never heard about
that. So my number 3 is also from season 2. If you'll notice, I'm really liking some season 2 here. Ooh. Episode 10, called Mixology Certification. You know it. So this is a one about where the gang decides to take Troy out to celebrate his 21st birthday, which he doesn't actually know is his 21st birthday.
Because everyone's 10 for 2 years.
That's right, because 5th grade is really hard. Okay, what's Troy's birthday? What's Troy's birthday?
It's like December 21st?
You were so close. It's December 4th.
Oh.
And he's 21. So, yeah, you're right there. So, Jeff decides that they want to go to a bar called L Street. But Britta wants to go to the Red Door. And they're both calling each other pretentious and da-da-da-da. And Shirley doesn't want to go to the bar. She wants to go to Peg Leg Pete's to have a mudslide shake. And so when they get to the bar that they have decided on going to, it's actually closed. But Annie can't get into a bar because she's not 21.
Yeah.
So Britta literally pulls out a stack of fake IDs and finds Caroline Decker from Corpus Christi, Texas.
Oh my God.
Who doesn't look anything like her, but she's another white brunette girl. So that's fine. So in her head, of course, Annie has to makes up this whole backstory about it. So they end up going to 3rd and Water to a bar named The Ballroom, which Shirley is like, I didn't sign up for this. I wasn't going here. So they get in, and Annie shows her ID, and the bouncer lets her in and lets everybody else in, and Shirley's last, and the bouncer's like, "Hey, Shirley, welcome back." And she looks around and grabs him.
She's like, "You don't know me.
You don't know me." So sitting down in the booth, they realize there's a whole bunch of Polaroids of all the regulars. Troy's really kind of getting into this because it's his first time in a bar, and they're trying to decide what drink he's going to have. At which point Shirley finds a picture of herself on the wall of shame. She then basically spends most of the rest of the episode going around the bar trying to pull down every picture of her. So obviously Shirley has been to this bar a lot. Annie is having a lot of fun with Caroline from Corpus Christi, who punched her parole officer. Yeah.
Grew up on a trout farm.
Grew up on a trout farm, that's right. And as everyone starts to get more and more drunk, Troy is realizing this is not a great thing. It's not something like he thought it would be. And it kind of comes to a head when both Jeff and Britta start to tease Shirley because they found the picture that she missed from, I think, the bathroom that says, if you look like this, call a cab. And she storms off. And at the same time, one of the funnier things is that Abed meets a fellow Farscape fan. And they have a big talk, only to realize the guy's trying to pick Abed up.
And Abed's like, oh, I'm not gay.
Why did you sit here and let me talk about it? Well, because I like Farscape. You know?
Then he just throws the drink on him.
So they finally get in the car, and Troy gets to drive Jeff's car, which is really all he wanted to do. That's for his birthday, was to drive Jeff's car. Yeah. So he brings Annie home, and at which point we learn that Annie is living above a 24-hour sex shop. In a really bad part of town.
Very bad.
Very bad. And so while he's taking her up, Britta and Jeff start making out with Abed sitting next to him.
He's just kind of like...
Yeah. Just sitting there. And so then he comes back and he gets in the car, and immediately Abed tells Troy what they were doing. And Troy's like, look, nobody likes a tattletale. And he drives each one of them home. And Britta gives him, I think, a kiss, or just tells him happy birthday. Jeff congratulates him that he's actually become a man now. And Troy drives him home, all smiling, because he didn't get drunk and didn't mess up his life. And the end tag is a funny one, completely cut off from the rest of the episode. You remember this one? Mm-mm. This is the one where Troy and Abed are putting T-shirts on Troy. At which point he gets up to 157 shirts on, and then his cell phone starts ringing, which is in his pocket, and Abed can't get to it because there's so many shirts. That was funny. God. I like that one.
Oh, and at the end, remember how they were like going back and forth between these two bars? Mm-hmm. In the end, you find out it's the same bar.
Right. That's a good one.
It was the same bar.
Oh, that's what drove Troy crazy. Yeah. All right. So we're down to number 2. Ooh. Lay it on me, sister.
Number 2. Well, number 2. It was really hard between 2 and 3 to decide, because I already knew what my number 1 was, but I didn't know 2 and 3. And so I actually it's kind of like, I like this one a little bit more.
Okay.
And so this one is season 2, episode 22 and 23.
I know it!
A fistful of paintballs and for a few paintballs more.
Uh-huh.
So this is another paintball assassin episode. This episode is just beautiful. The 2-parter has what everyone loves. You know, it got some plot twists, some fun costumes for everyone to wear, fun themes like what the episodes are parodying, and just an amazing victory. You know?
Yes, definitely.
So the first episode, A Fistful of Paintballs, is Wild West themed, and everyone is dressed like the Wild West.
Right.
Like they're in the Wild West. It's good costume. It's really good costume. And everyone gets like a little card, because in the beginning you find out they were voting, and everyone got cards. So, you know, there's like Ace of Hearts, King, Queen, Jack.
And there's that cool intro when they show up, and each one of them has that, where the motion stops and it shows their Queen of Spades,
and like
or
in
whatever.
The back it's like the little fun little parchment, and it's good. And then the second one, For a Few Paintballs More.
Well, wait. So in the first one, they're having another paintball assassin. So is there another prize this time?
Yes. So this one's actually sponsored by in the beginning, they are being sponsored by a ice cream company. And they're like showing up, and then Dean's like, welcome to the stage, ice cream patty or something.
Yeah.
She walks on, and she's like, howdy, folks. So your prize for this year's paintball assassin is $100,000. And the Dean goes, what? And they're like, go crazy. And everyone's just like,
oh my gosh.
And so that's what's really driving this episode.
Yeah.
And then you find out, get this, the rival community college, City College,
Yeah.
is actually the ice cream company.
Oh,
And they sent
twist.
they sent in like a professional paintball player and like an army of
with like machine
players.
guns, right?
And then the second episode for a few paintballs more is Star Wars themed. And if you look at the army,
Yeah.
they're in all white and they look like stormtroopers.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, but this time they actually hit some people, you know?
Well, that's very unstormtrooper-like.
Yeah. It's funny. And what I was talking about with the voting was they were trying to vote if they would have Pierce out of the group or let him stay in the group. Because they're kind of like, ugh, Pierce, ugh.
Ew.
You know?
I'm with him.
Yeah. And so eventually they're like, you can stay in the group, but he leaves in the very end.
Right.
You know, he's like, it's okay. But it's a good episode, and it's very... The final plan, when they figure out what's happening,
Yeah.
the plan is pretty... It's pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
Except for Jeff's plan. Jeff's plan is kind of... So Jeff is like, we're all going to attack this van, because in the van they have like a big machine gun.
Yeah, like a Vulcan gun, yeah.
And so he's like, let's all attack this van because they can't kill all of us, which they can. It's a giant gun. And Troy's like, oh my god. Troy's like, you know what? We're going to hook up some paint to the sprinklers, and then someone can pull the fire alarm, and the sprinklers will go off, and if you get paint on your clothes, you're out.
Sounds like it would work.
And it does. And then in the end, Britta and Shirley are driving around, and they're the last ones left. And Shirley gets hit, but Britta's not hit. And she shoots the last stormtrooper. She's like, yeah, we won $100,000 for Greendale. And then, like, 5 more stormtroopers come out, and they shoot her.
What?
And she's like, no. And they're like, haha. And then Pierce, who is in the stormtrooper tire, goes, haha, and then shoots all of them.
Oh,
And he's like,
Pierce.
for Greendale.
That's awesome.
And the final gag, you know, the little end tag. Abed is talking to the janitor, and and he's like, "There's so much paint," and Abed's like, "Yeah, so that's how the story was." And he was like, "Oh, why didn't you just hose the school down with paint?" And he's like, "Oh, have you not gotten to the library yet?" And he was like, "I'm working my way there." And he's like, "Okay." And he was like drinking a smoothie, and he was like, "Where do you want me to?" And he was just like, "Put it on the ground."
Just throw it down.
And he just like, and he takes it literally, and he puts it on the ground. He's like, "Bye," and then walks away. It was a great 2-parter.
It really
like one
was.
story, and it's 2 episodes. And I kind of asked you because I didn't know if I had to do them separately, but
Nope.
it's really good.
Yes, I must agree. I'm so glad that at least we covered all of the all 3 of the paintball episodes.
The best paintball
the best
episodes.
ones. Yeah. Well, that's really good. So my number 2. So I'm going to predict that my number 2
Okay.
is your number 1.
Okay.
Okay. So you tell me if I'm right.
I should tell you?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Because I want us to both talk about this one if it is.
Okay.
It's from season 3. It's episode 3. It's Remedial Chaos Theory. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But actually, fun fact, it's episode 4.
That's episode 4? Mm-hmm.
And because the only reason I know that is because in the beginning, you see on the door to their house, it says 303, right?
Yeah.
And Annie and Britta are there together because they're walking into their house, this house, Troy and Abed's house party together. And Britta goes, "Are you sure it's not 304? And Annie goes, "It's 303. I wrote it down twice." Because this episode was originally season 3, episode 3. But they found a different episode to put before it.
Oh.
And so it was then episode 4.
Look at that. See, this is why I wanted us to talk about it together. All right, so let's do this. So, like you just said, Troy and Abed are having a housewarming party. And so they invite everyone to come over. They're going to order pizza, and they're going to play Yahtzee. At which point, Jeff is going to roll the Yahtzee die. And a series of 6 different scenarios unfold based on that die.
Yeah.
So, do you know what each roll begets?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so.
So we start off with number 2,
Annie.
where Jeff counts down from his left and Annie is chosen to get the pizza. Britta plays Roxanne on the stereo.
Roxanne.
Jeff stops her from singing and causes her to get up and go to the bathroom. Troy finds a gun in Annie's purse. Pierce tries to give Troy a housewarming present, but is ignored.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff doesn't want to deal with the situation, stands up to get a drink, hits his head on the ceiling fan.
Pierce laughs at him.
Pierce laughs at him. Shirley finishes baking her pies. Abed tells Britta about a weird smell coming from the bathroom. And then when Annie shows up with the pizza, Britta acts weird. So Abed has told Jeff not to do this because it's going to
Create 6 different timelines.
Right. So then we go to the next roll.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us that one.
Well, like I don't know the order.
So the next roll is the number 4, which means Shirley goes to get the pizza.
Yeah. And so in this episode, in this timeline, Shirley gets up and she's like, "Don't forget about my pies." And Jeff's like, "We're not going to eat our pies." And
because they're horrible.
And Britta's about to say, "Roxanne." But Jeff goes, "No." And she's like, "Bathroom." She goes back to the bathroom. Pierce tries to give Troy the housewarming present. He opens it. It's a little creepy Norwegian troll that used to watch him in his sleep. He freaks out. Jeff is like, I'm getting up and leaving.
Jeff laughs at him.
Yeah.
Right.
And then Pierce laughs at him because he hit his head. And Annie's like, "Oh, let me go check on it in the bathroom." And Abed's like, "Britta's in the bathroom." And she's like, "Okay, let's go in the kitchen." And then Shirley comes back with the pizza, right?
Right.
And
but no one's checked on her pies.
And she's like, "Did anyone check on my pies?" And everyone's kind of just like looking at each other like, And she's like, "Oh." And then she yells at them. She's like, "You little horny toads. Stop making googly eyes at each other." And then she just cries and leaves.
Yeah.
She has a nervous breakdown.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
So when rolling number 3, Jeff counts to his left, and Pierce is chosen to get the pizza. Before leaving, he mentions about sleeping with Eartha Kitt on an airplane.
In an airplane bathroom.
Yeah. So do you know who Eartha Kitt is?
No.
On the TV show Batman from 1966, she played one of the Catwoman. Because Catwoman was played by 3 different women. Eartha Kitt played one of them.
Okay.
Just so you know. Britta tries to sing Roxanne. Jeff stops her. She goes to the bathroom. This time we realize she's in there smoking some marijuana.
Marijuana?
The devil's weed. Satan's cabbage. Mary Jane. I'm talking about a joint. Jeff makes fun of Troy, which prompts him to get up and go with Britta into the bathroom.
Like, "I'm washing my hands."
So back at the table, Annie chides Jeff for being too mean to Troy. Jeff ignores her and
gets up
to get a drink and gets
smacked in the head by the fan.
Again. So back in the bathroom, Britta and Troy are having a nice talk and they feel better about each other. Pierce comes back with the pizzas and everyone kind of notices what's going on with you two.
They're like, giggles.
So then we jump back and Jeff rolls a 6, which means Britta has to leave.
Yeah.
Take it from there.
Okay. Britta's. Okay. So there's no Roxanne because Britta isn't there. So Pierce tries to give Troy the gift, right? And Pierce Troy kind of gets up. Jeff gets up, hits his head, and he's like, "Oh no, let's go check on it in the bathroom." Because remember, the first time she was like, "Let's go to the bathroom." Britta's in the bathroom, but this time Britta's not there.
Right.
So they go to the bathroom, right?
Right.
Okay, and then I don't remember this one as well.
Well, this is when they go into the.
Wait, no.
Okay.
No, I don't know.
So Annie takes him into the bathroom to look at it. While looking at his wounds, Jeff's tells her, man, I'm really worried about you living on top of that sex shop. And so they kind of have a minute, like they're about to be kiss, when there's a scream. And they come out.
And Troy's
Pierce,
against the wall, and Pierce is holding up the Norwegian doll. He's like, look at it!
Right, and Abed calls him out because he's like, you're just upset, you're just jealous because he's living with me now, because he had been living with Pierce. At which point Britta arrives, not only with the pizzas,
but with the pizza man. She's like, I know this sounds crazy, but we're in love and we're getting married.
Toby.
Toby.
So then the next roll is number 1. Ooh. Which Jeff counts down and has Troy to go get the pizza. And this is, I think, safe to say, it's our favorite. Yes, you can do this one.
This one's my favorite. Okay. So, Britta plays Roxanne, gets interrupted. She's like, can I go to the bathroom? She's like, okay. Shirley goes check on her pies. Pierce tries to give Troy the present, right?
So
wait, no, Troy's not there.
Right.
So the box,
and oddly, Troy says, "I got to go so I can get back real quick," so he doesn't miss anything.
And so,
this is the dark timeline.
Yeah, this is the darkest time. So Jeff gets up, bangs his head. Ouch. And so Annie's like, "Oh, let's go to the bathroom. Let's go check on it or whatever." I don't remember where they try to go. And at the beginning of the episode, Abed's like, look, this is my life-sized, what is it, Raiders of the Lost Ark, baby? Remember there's the Indiana...
No, it's a diorama. It's a scale model of the Raiders of the Lost Ark opening
scene. Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Right.
Where the ball kind of rolls down the thing.
Yeah.
And so, I think when you open and close the door, it starts rolling.
Right, so this is like a big Final Destination thing.
Yeah. And so, after Troy closed the door, it starts rolling. And Annie gets up and goes to look, and she slips and falls on the ball,
right, and
falls onto a table, right, and some liquor spills on the ground or something. Yep. And remember how in the first roll
she had a gun.
They had a gun, and so she had her purse with her, and she falls, and the gun fires into Pierce's leg,
right,
and Pierce falls, and he's like, "I've been shot." And Annie goes over to him, and she's like, Abed, stop the bleeding. And he's like, what do I do? And then Britta comes out, because they were screaming, with the weeds still with her. And she's like, oh, no. And she drops it, and the liquor catches on fire. And she's like, fire! And then Jeff gets up, and he starts, he takes, a tablecloth or something, and starts trying to put out the fire. Yeah. And Shirley is like, ah! She gets sprayed with blood, and Troy just walks in, and there's chaos everywhere.
Yeah, and he
Pierce is on the ground. There's a fire. Shirley's covered in blood. It's crazy.
Yeah, and he drops the pieces and just screams. And there in the fire
is the Norwegian troll. He's
just smiling with that eerie smile. So then we go back for the final timeline, which is number 5, which Abed has to go get it. And he demands...
give me your money.
Yeah, because he knows he won't get paid back. Britta tries to sing Roxanne. Jeff stops her. She goes to the bathroom to light up some more of that marijuana that we talked about. Jeff again hits his head on the fan, and he looks at his injury in the kitchen this time instead of the bathroom. Pierce feels guilty about trying to give Troy the doll. Troy thanks him for letting him stay. Pierce tries to take it back, but Troy rustles it, becomes angry. Annie and Jeff then are able to kiss. Britta is upset about Shirley when she tells her that...
she's high. She tries to eat Shirley's pies.
Yeah.
And I remember they were like, we can't eat her pies. And she starts to eat it, and she's like, I'm not supposed to do this. And she's like, okay, cards on the table, I'm high right now. And Shirley's like, being the Christian woman she is, she's like, I can't believe I'm feeding my pies to a druggie.
And then, of course, Abed shows back up, and he's kind of unaware that everybody's in a bad mood about him.
And Annie and Jeff, she was like, you remind me of my dad.
That's right, I forgot about that.
And he's like, ugh.
Yeah, what a turnoff. Yeah.
And so everyone's kind of mad at each other. And then Troy finds out that it was the troll in it. And he was like, you're just a sad old man.
Yeah.
So everyone's mad at each other. And Abed's like, I wonder what happened in the other timelines. I found a dime in the hallway, so I like this one.
And so then back in what we call the prime timeline, as Jeff goes to roll it, Abed catches it. And he explains that using a 6-sided die, Jeff would have ensured that he never had to go because he was always counting starting from his left. And there are 7 people at the table. He goes to stand up, hits his head on the ceiling fan, which everyone says, ha, 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 laugh, laugh. Karma, right. I think Annie says karma. And so then when he goes to check on it, finally Britta is able to sing Roxanne.
And everyone starts singing with her.
Yes. And Pierce decides not to give Troy the housewarming gift. Doesn't he say, like, throw it away or something?
He throws it in the garbage
Yeah,
can.
throws it in the garbage. And when Jeff gets back, he sees them all having a good time. He eats a piece of pie. A piece of pizza pie. Well, pizza pie. A piece of pizza pie. And watches the festivities from the doorway.
And at one point, Annie is like, your place is so nice. And Abed's like, you should move in with us. And she was like, maybe.
Yeah.
Because, you know, she's in the bad neighborhood.
Right.
This is just a great episode. It's
is.
a great way to show how the characters interact with each other.
But we're not done yet. Because we have the end tag.
The end tag is great. Can I explain
You go
it?
right ahead.
So they're all sitting at the study group table, and you see Annie and Pierce aren't at the table. And it kind of looks weird. And Abed is like, well, I've figured out that this is the darkest timeline. And I got us all goatees, felt goatees, and we can keep them with us until we can grow one out, and we will become the evil study group, and we will try to just live our lives being evil. And Britta's like, Abed, Pierce is dead.
Right.
Annie's in an insane asylum because of her guilt. Shirley's a drunk. Jeff lost his arm. Troy, what did he lose? Like his
voice box. He was talking like this.
Because he tried to eat a flaming troll. And I have a blue streak in my hair. Jeff lost his arm.
That's funny.
And Jeff is like, Abed, can I throw some punches? And he's like, sure. I lost my arm. Do you see that? I don't have an arm.
Yeah.
And you're trying to make goatees? And everyone kind of gets mad and storms off.
But then Troy
Troy puts on his goatee, and they go, evil Troy and evil Abed.
And then we switch back to the prime timeline. And once
Abed's
again,
kind of like, what?
There's a disturbance in the force. He's good about that. Like he picked up when Britta and Jeff did the bop bop there. He knew something was going on. See, I knew that was going to be your number one.
It's so good. I talk about it all the time.
I know you do. It's a great episode. So, before we go to my number one, I would like... Well, I just showed it to you. Did you see it?
I didn't see it.
Okay.
I can't read.
All right. Can you guess what my number one is?
How many guesses do I get?
You can have 3.
Okay. Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas?
No. Very good one. Dino Stantilopoulos. Sorry if I messed up your name. He does an amazing job of that. One of the shows that he did called Moral Oral. It looks just like that entire episode. And I love that show. So when I saw that, I was like, I knew exactly what he was doing there. So that's your first guess.
Was it on my list?
Nope.
Okay. Was it... Oof. This is hard.
Not if you know me.
I thought I knew you.
I'll give you a hint. It's in season 2.
Season 2. You like season 2.
I do.
Is it epidemiology?
It is epidemiology! What? With one guess left. The study group is left to fend for themselves after a mysterious zombie outbreak due to some bad army surplus taco meat at Glendale's Halloween party.
Greendale.
Right. So I love this episode for so many reasons. Not just the fact that it's got zombies in it, which kind of aren't zombies, but it starts off with a voiceover by George Takei, Mr. Sulu himself, telling us that it's Halloween. Right away, we get the Dean dressed as Lady Gaga.
Poker face.
And Jeff and Pierce. They're there. Pierce is dressed as Captain Kirk. Mm-hmm. And Jeff is dressed as David Beckham. So they're standing around eating some of the hors d'oeuvres, at which point they realize that some of it's army surplus, but they keep going. So Annie notices that Pierce, after eating it, is looking a little weird. So she, typical Annie, she goes up to a guy who's dressed as a doctor and say, "Look at my friend." Well, he's like, "I'm not a doctor." And then a banana turns around and it's Rich from pottery class.
He's like, "I'm a doctor."
Yeah. And so at that point, he starts looking at Pierce, and Troy and Abed show up with another great costume. He's dressed as Ripley in the loader outfit, and Abed is the alien. More people are getting sick. Then they're looking at Pierce again, and he's really gone off the deep end. Starburns walks by, and Pierce bites him. I was like, okay, all right, it's turning into the zombies here. So, in the meantime, Abed and Troy kind of did their little thing in front of some hot girls. And
they were like, ugh.
Yeah, nerds. And so Troy has decided he doesn't want to be a nerd anymore. So instead, he changes into a sexy Dracula.
Which is literally just took off his shirt and put on one of the little toilet things.
Exactly. And of course, he's not a sexy vampire, because I can be whatever Dracula I want to be, which I thought was really funny. So then Annie and Rich discover that the disease is progressing faster if it's been bit than somebody who ate the stuff. So the Dean has a really great scene where he's calling the number of Phoenix 9 something something something. It's the goofy label that's on the taco meat, and that is a scene straight out of Return of the Living Dead. It's really cool, and I was like, "Ooh, ooh, ooh, ooh!" And when he calls, he gets directed to an operator who's part of the government, and they're like, "Where are you?"
He's like, "Hello."
Yeah, they'll be there in 6 hours. Ooh. So back at the party, the group gets together, and they're going to get everybody out. But the zombies start to attack them, and as they run toward the doors, the Dean has locked them in.
Ooh.
Okay. And at this point, we get our first of, I think, 3 or 4 ABBA songs, because the Dean has put his iPod on shuffle along with his personal notes. So you hear...
It's just like, "You are the dancing queen."
Exactly. It starts off with Dancing Queen.
I need milk, eggs, and bacon.
So they all have to kind of take off, and they end up back together at the study room, where Chang, who is dressed as Dorothy Hamill, tries to lock him out, and then they end up getting in anyway. He's like, "Oh, great, I've been waiting for you. Come on in." So they're all safe, and they're looking at each other. Rich starts to talk about the dangers and the symptoms of what's going on. And they decide that, it's a brain disease. So if we can lower the temperature, it'll keep people from getting fevers, and they won't have their brain swell and die. Annie tries to talk to him about the symptoms. He's like, "Look, let's try to get them some help, but we're going to just stay here." Until you realize, because he's got weird speech, that Rich the banana has been bitten. And I love this point. He's like, "Why didn't you tell us?" He says, "Because I thought I was special." And then, of course, Britta, "Well, you think you're special? I was bitten an hour ago, and that didn't happen to me." And that's when all hell breaks loose. Chang goes to throw his skate, and it breaks the glass, and Annie gets sucked in, which is straight out of, you could either call it Shaun of the Dead, or even before that, Day of the Dead. At which point we then hear Abba's "Gimme, Gimme, Gimme, a Man After Midnight." And everybody goes their separate ways. Chang and Shirley end up in the bathroom. Troy, Abed, and Jeff are in the basement. This is where Chang and Shirley kiss, and they probably do it. While Abed keeps asking Troy, "Well, why aren't you wanting to be in costume? Why do you call me a nerd?" And Troy just basically tells him that he wanted to, the girls to like him. And then we have cat scares. I love this scene because Every bad movie has a cat jumping out of it. And this one has it not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 times. What is with that cat? Is somebody throwing it? So Jeff decides he would rather go and open a door and try to get out where he knows there's zombies versus getting his suit dirty. And I love this scene because when he opens the door and all the zombies come in, remember Rich is wearing Jeff's jacket. He's like, don't, you're going to ruin it. He's like getting eaten and he's worried about his jacket. But in the end, Abed sacrifices himself so that Troy can get out in a true show of friendship. And Troy goes through the window when Abed is telling him, make me proud. Be the first black man to survive. Which I thought was great. So Troy gets around and he gets to the front where the dean has still got the door locked. Mm-hmm. And he gets around him and gets the key by giving him a punch in the gut. And decides he's going to put back on his cargo mover suit from Aliens. And with Abba's Mamma Mia playing, he fights his way toward the thermostat. And it lasts for all of about 5 seconds. And he's like, why did I even do this? And you got some cool little things because Abed and Shirley both end up biting him. You see cool Jeff, even though he's a zombie, he's still like texting.
He's not even texting. He's just moving his thumbs.
And like, not Britta, Annie is sitting there reading stuff. Like, even as a zombie, she's studying. But he does make it to the AC before, and he leaves that whole bloody trail going down after he turned it down. And at this point, we hear Abba's Fernando. At which point, the air conditioners turn on, and slowly but surely, everybody survives. But at exactly 6 hours, the men in black show up. And as the army goes in to memory wipe everybody, which was scenario B, ghost those suckers. After which everybody wakes up and doesn't remember anything.
And the story is that they all got roofied.
They all got roofied. And Troy and Abed never in their minds had that fight, so they're friends again. They decide to go and watch a movie, but for some reason they don't want to watch a zombie movie. And then we get one of the coolest things, which is the George Takei voiceover again, where he gives all the Kevins a voice message. Which I often wonder, Kevin Cincamano, do you have that as your voicemail on your phone? If not, you should get it. And then this is the famous end tag, where Troy gets a message from Chang'd claiming that he and Shirley did it. And he's not weirded out because they did that or because of anything else. It's because, why did he choose me to call? And, of course, that plays in later for when...
cooperative calligraphy, actually.
There you go. When she finds out she's pregnant But was it Chang's baby?
No.
Well, you'll have to watch the show to find out.
Just edit out that me saying
that. Wow. Well, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I knew we'd have some crossovers. I really, really, really figured that had to be on your list because you love the chaos theory.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
I love it.
Yeah. It's a good one.
So good.
Well, great. Well, listen, before we go, what would you like to do next?
I don't know.
I'm thinking we're getting closer and closer
to the horror for tweens.
I think we should focus and work on that one and then have you come on. And what that one's going to be, y'all, is me and a friend of mine that I'm sure you're familiar with, Phantom Dark Dave. We are making a list of our Fave 5 horror movies for tweens.
Yeah.
And then once we make that list, Lilli is going to be tasked with watching all of those movies. Mm-hmm. And then we will come back and have a special episode where we have Dave back on as well as Lilli, and we talk about what you thought about those movies. Reprise! So we'll get to work on that, but maybe you and I will come up with something else, because these are a lot of fun. Yeah. They're fan favorites. All 6 of my listeners love your episodes.
Really? Oh
yes.
God. I'm so flattered.
Yeah, so this has been a lot of fun. Again, I want to thank you for coming on the show. And I'd also like to thank all of you out there in the podcast universe for joining Lilli and I for this episode of Fave Five From Fans. We love putting on this show and will continue to release episodes every Friday. You can find us through the AOC podcast at www.aocinc.org/fave-5-from-fans. Or you can subscribe to us via Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Podbean, or really anywhere where you can catch a podcast. Please review us and give us a 5-star rating whenever you listen, and share us so that more people can hear about Fave 5 and we can continue to grow this show. We'd also love it if you'd interact with us on Twitter at Fave 5 From Fans. That's the number 5. On our shiny new website, www.fave5fromfans.com. On our Facebook page, and on the gram, as the kids say.
We don't say.
You don't say that?
We don't say.
I thought I was cool. We here at Fave 5 From Fans are excited to be part of the Slightly Irregular Podcast Network. You can find us at sipnet.us on Instagram.
Good job.
The SIP Network is a varied group of podcasters like The Terrible Terror Podcast, The Podcast from Another World, Dead Hand Radio, The Paranormal Activity Podcast, Angry Dad Podcast,
Back in Time,
From the Wastes, and us, Fave 5 From Fans.
That was great.
Thank you. I've been practicing that one. And remember, folks, it may not be the best. It may not be the most popular. But if it's your favorite, then that's good enough for us. Lilli Dot, say goodnight.
It's 3 o'clock. Why do I have to go to bed?
Well, I mean, you don't have to go to bed. It's just kind of how we end the show.
Well, what if they're watching it in the morning?
So say goodbye?
Have a great day.
Yeah, that'll work.
Okay.
This is Hulk Boy from Hollywood signing off.
¿Dónde está la biblioteca? Me llamo T-Bone, la araña discoteca.
Discoteca, muñeca, la biblioteca. Es el bigote grande, pero manteca.
Manteca, bigote, gigante, pequeño. Cabeza es nieve, cerveza es bueno.
Buenos días, me gustas papas frías. Bigote de la cabra, es Cameron Díaz. Yeah, boy.
Yeah.
What? It's 2009.
Word.